Well, I think it's finally safe to say it. Spring is here.
I sure hope so. And with this wonderful new season, a whole new season of arts activities is springing up, including the 2 festivals, the Music Expo, and the big arts convention we're covering on this edition of Artifacts.
Stay tuned for our amazing lineup of Artifacts guests in just 20 seconds. Hello everyone, I'm Janet Zahn with the Office of Film, Video and Recording.
And I'm Phill Lindsay with the MCDA.
And welcome to Artifacts, the show that brings the arts in Minneapolis home to you.
As always, we've got a stellar group of folks joining us today, beginning with Janet's first guest, Pete Rhodes.
Pete is hosting the 1997 Minnesota Black Music Awards and Black Music Expo in Minneapolis. He'll be here to tell us all about the new one-day format for this event.
Then Jeff Prower, Margaret Swanson, and Dave Glenn will join me for an exciting glimpse into the convention of Americans for the Arts. That's taking place in Minneapolis and St. Paul over the first weekend in June.
Next, Howard Kristoffersen, a sculptor, and Lisa Elias, a decorative metal artist, will be here to talk with Phill about how their northeast Minneapolis neighborhood will be spinning with art and life when the second annual Art-A-Whirl event gets underway in May.
And another Minneapolis neighborhood's got a really good thing going in May as well. Writers Roy McBride and Jeannie Piekos will be telling me all about the Powderhorn Writers Festival.
And we've also got our fabulous Artifacts giveaway, which is 2 sets of 4 all-day passes to the Minnesota Black Music Awards and Black Music Expo on Saturday, June 7th.
So the 11th and 13th callers to the City Cable 34 hotline will win these passes. This is a good gift. Just leave your name, address, and phone number on the answering machine, and that number is 673-2234.
Pete Rhodes will be here in just a moment to tell you exactly why you want to call and win those passes. But first, something completely different. Here's a brief look at the Star Trek Festival in Riverside, Iowa, from a documentary of small-town festivals in the Midwest called Days by Barry and Todd Kim. This is just one of 23 short works featured in this year's Midwest Film and Video Showcase, running on May 2nd, 9th, and 16th at the Walker Arts Center.
This town has been here for a long time, and you know, it's like a farming community. You think they could base something around the farmers that have kept this town alive instead of some movie, and you know, I mean, I think they could base it on something that's really real. A Farm Days, maybe, I don't know, you know. Something that was more based on what keeps this town alive. It sure as hell ain't the Trek Fest.
5 years ago, there was a lot of stores up on Main Street was empty. Now there's a pizza place up there, the restaurant's in there. And the population in the town has increased, not because of Star Trek, but people being involved in the community and saying, okay, if we don't do something, the town's going to dry up.
Welcome back, everybody. Here I am with an old friend. Pete Rhodes is here. Welcome, Pete.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm very pleased to have you here again to talk about your event, the Minnesota Black Music Awards and Expo coming up on June 7th.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for 16 years.
We're really happy about it as well, too. And of course, glad to be back here to tell all the fans of Artifact about the program and what actually is going to be happening June 7th. Of course, you know, we kind of made it a little bit smaller now. It's back to a one-day, actually a 1.5-day event, and we're really happy about the new time frame.
Before we get into this year's event, though, I want to go back to what you were thinking 16 years ago and why you started doing this particular event. Can you remember back that far?
Yeah, really, it was, we wanted to kind of show what Minnesota's music scene was doing. And when we first started the program, it had just begun to blossom. And so we had artists like the artist formerly known as Prince, Jammin' Lewis, The Time, and Alexander O'Neill, and a lot of young, fresh faces who were coming onto the scene and were reshaping the whole dynamics of contemporary black music as we know it. And it was all happening here in Minneapolis. And hence, over the last 16 years, it has continued to grow and make Minnesota and the Twin Cities a place to be for music. So that's why we started, and that's why we continue to do it.
You have a little bit of history to show us, and also that will be at the event this year, but you brought some pictures along to show us some of that early history. I'd like to see them.
Yeah, we brought some pictures for you to take a look at. We're going to do a special exhibit this year, the first ever Minneapolis Sound exhibit, and where we will highlight memorabilia and photographs, as well as cars, boats, and trains.
Really?
But a lot of things that these artists have used on their stages and throughout the years that they've been performing and become national artists here. These are some of the early pictures here with Jam and Lewis when they first began to really get prominent. They were there receiving an award for doing work with Janet Jackson, and this was at the old Prom Center, and not the Prom Center, but the Carlton Celebrity Room, which is now part of the Mall of America.
Yeah.
And this next one here is Jesse Johnson. And Jesse at this time was the new leader for the group The Time. The Time went through a couple changes, and although they're still known as one of the premier groups of the 80s, they did go through a few changes there, and this is Jesse Johnson and the second coming of The Time performing at the old Prom Center, which is no longer there in St. Paul. We actually started the program at the Prom Center in St. Paul. And here's the artist formerly known as Prince.
Oh, nope.
Notice that?
Not yet.
That's Alexander O'Neill.
Yeah.
Before he became as famous as he is currently, Alexander is signed to EMI Records in Europe, and he's a major star there in England. And we had him first here at the Prom Center in St. Paul, and performing on the show. And here's the artist.
There he
known
is.
as Prince. This is a picture of him just before he performed that night at our show as well, and he has performed on a couple of occasions at the program, and that segues into this year, because this year we are presenting a special exhibit of all of these artists, as well as the artist formerly known as Prince, and it's the first ever to be established and presented, and we expect for a lot of people to come out and be a part and see some of the history of Minnesota's music scene, which is really good.
You were telling me earlier that this, the 80s, this was really happening back then. When all this stuff was going on, there was some just incredible stuff coming out of the city, and then there's a little downturn, but things are coming back.
Things are kind of coming back now. The music scene had pretty much died down a little bit, and I think it was from a lack of places to play, and music as well was going through a change after the early and mid 80s. Now the scene is coming back. There's a strong gospel scene here in the Twin Cities, as well as underground hip-hop scene, and groups are starting to form. Minnesota now has Mint Condition, who also performed on this show, and they have begun to bring back instrumentation throughout the whole music scene, and so it's starting to get revived here, and we see a lot of things happening, and so the awards program is there again. It continues to be a platform for artists to perform and for the public to get a chance to see all the various styles of music and black music that is happening currently.
Part of the reason the artist formerly known as Prince, it has made some changes too in his approach to the public. He's becoming a little bit more open and available.
Yes.
Do you think that has something to do too with what's happening in town here, and is he going to be more open and available to you at this event?
Yes, we
Yes and
expect,
yes.
yes and yes. We expect to have him, we're presenting him with our Lifetime Achievement Award this year. And June 7th is significant in two reasons. It is the new date for the Minnesota Black Music Awards. We're normally in September. This year we moved to June. And June 7th is also the birthday of the artist formerly known as Prince. And we're going to be recognizing him with a Lifetime Achievement Award, as well as showing the public some of the private side of Prince with this special exhibit that we'll do.
And you're also going to show some of his films?
We're going to show some of his films. We have the Prince film years that we will be showing, and the public will get a chance to see some of the glimpses of some of those movies like Purple Rain and Under the Cherry Moon. And as we know, Minnesota now is just a burgeoning area for film. And the artist formerly known as Prince was one of the pioneers in that area.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tell me a little bit about how this day looks. So if you were going to be coming to this event at the Minneapolis Convention Center, what would you experience?
Well, it's a family day in terms of its presentation. Now we have an open atmosphere. You'll come into the convention center. It's our first time at the magnificent Minneapolis Convention Center. We're glad to be there, and we'll have the exhibit. Lots of giveaways from a lot of independent record labels as well as major record labels will be happening. So you'll come in and there'll be a lot of festive things happening on the stage throughout the day. We'll continue to showcase all the merits of music, gospel, jazz, blues, reggae, hip hop, and R&B music throughout the day.
Is that going to be live music through the day?
There'll be live music throughout the day with special guests like Ben Tankard. We're expecting hometown talent Bobby Lyle to be back in town, and a lot more solo is going to be performing as our special guest at the awards program. So it's just going to be a day of entertainment. Gives individuals a chance to experience the various styles of music and also to get a chance to see the enormous contributions that Minneapolis has given to the world musically.
What's happening at the awards show?
The awards show, we're going to recognize again the artist formerly known as Prince, as well as some of the local talent that is beginning to emerge here on the gospel, jazz, blues, and reggae scene. We will have a group that Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis produced as our special guests. We also will have some surprises in there, some jam sessions with some of the top artists in the Twin Cities. And we're just expecting to have a great evening, and we expect everyone to come out to that and dress up and have a nice evening.
So it is an all-day event. What time does it start?
Starts at 10 o'clock, and doors will open at 10 o'clock with the Expo and things happening throughout the day. And we also will have a lecture where Terry Lewis will give a perspective on music. And so from 10 o'clock until 5 o'clock, and the awards program begins at 7 o'clock.
Okay. So this is an opportunity to kind of come and see some good exhibits. There's going to be some art exhibits, you know, the fun paraphernalia, the film. It's kind of a good expo type day, but there's also an opportunity for people to learn about music.
Exactly. It's an all-day educational as well as entertaining event, and we invite everybody to come out. And being at the convention center now, you can bring your kids.
That's great. Tell me, if people want more information and they really want specifics about all of this, what do they do?
They can give us a call at our regular number
Okay.
at 341-2447, and we'll give them information and let them know how to get in. And everything is affordable, so again, we expect everyone to take part and have fun.
And of course, you were so kind to offer 2 sets of 4 passes as our Artifacts giveaway.
Exactly.
So people can call in. You can call in the Artifacts City Cable 34 hotline and win passes.
Right.
You have to be the 11th or 13th caller.
Okay.
So that would be a cool
fun.
deal.
Yeah, that should be fun.
Appreciate that.
And we thank you very much, Janet, for all your years of supporting the program, and again, look forward to everyone coming out.
Well, you do a great job. Thanks, Pete.
Thanks a lot, Janet.
Next up, Jeff Prower, Margaret Swanson, and Dave Glenn join Phill for a lively look at the Americans for the Arts Convention coming to Minneapolis in June, right after a look at a promo that was used to encourage artists and arts organizations to come to our fair city for this convention.
How you doing? I was out east recently, and a guy says, "Where are you from?" I says, "Minneapolis." "Oh," he says, "Minneapolis, the International Speedway." "No," I says, "you're thinking of Indianapolis." "Oh," he says, "I got a brother in Detroit." No, I says, "You're thinking of Michigan." "Oh," he says, "Minneapolis, do you know Eddie Schumacher?" God, Eddie Schumacher, what is it? I mean, even if people know where we are, they think we're this little hick town in the middle of a package of frozen corn, and then they shudder. "Over, how can you live there?" Well, look, and what are you talking about? It's summer in Minnesota. It's beautiful. There's always something going on. Ain't a day that goes by I don't say, "Shoot, I never seen that before." Now, myself, I like to fish. I like to go out with my brother-in-law. That would be Ray. Oh, cripes, we catch the fish. But I know there's others, they like their art and they like their music and their theater, you know, they like that stuff. I don't know what I like, but I know that it's art. People here are the greatest. They're the way I like them, you know, a little crunchy on the outside, tender on the inside. I mean, it's home, right? Feels like a home should feel here. And invariably, when I invite people to Minneapolis, I say, come on over. And if it's January, you know, you might want to bring a coat. And oh, by the way, I do know Eddie Schumacher, and he's doing fine.
Well, we had an awful lot of fun with that video that you just saw. We want to thank Kevin Kling and all the good folks over at James Productions. That includes Jim Lund, Ruth Johnson, and some 20 different people all donated their technical expertise out in the crew. We got the one sunny day that week we had to shoot it. And that piece that we just saw not only signifies the great spirit of the local film production community that came together, largely with Janet's help, to produce that. Just recently, just last month, it won 2 awards at the rather prestigious ITVA Twin Cities Video Festival. Got the People's Choice Award, that's the big one, and the Bronze Award that was judged by people in Seattle, so we'll forgive them for that. The reason we made that video, though, was to promote an upcoming event that's going to happen here in the Twin Cities, the Americans for the Arts Convention. And with me today on Artifacts is we have 3 guests to talk about the convention and a very special element of that convention. Let me introduce Jeff Prower, gentleman from Compass, who is one of the co-hosts of the event. Dave Glenn is the executive director of the Minnesota Crafts Council. Did I get your title right? And Margaret Swanson, also with Compass. And you two are involved in a lot of ways, but in particular with this art market. We want to talk about that. But let me start with Jeff, if I may. Americans for the Arts. People keep asking me, Americans for the Arts, what is that, some sort of militia group that's decided that they're going to buy duck stamps or something? Can you set the ground for us a little bit? What is Americans for the Arts and why are they coming to town?
Americans for the Arts is a new national organization that was formed last fall by the merger of the National Assembly of Local Arts Agencies and the American Council for the Arts. And the National Assembly of Local Arts Agencies was a conglomeration of mostly arts councils and local arts agencies around the country. Agencies like the Minneapolis Arts Commission, like Compass, if there were a county arts commission, those are all members of now Americans for the Arts. The American Council for the Arts was primarily an advocacy organization, and the National Assembly was doing a lot more advocacy, and they came together and as a combined organization are stronger at doing what they do best together. This is the first convention of the combined organizations here in the Twin Cities, this June 5th through 10th.
Okay, and so it's quite a little coup that we've got them here in town, and we get a chance to meet them, they get a chance to see what's going on here in the Twin Cities, and indeed Minnesota, because the art market, I want to get to that right away, the art market will actually represent craftspeople and artists from throughout the state, is that right?
A little spilled into Wisconsin, but
oh,
it's
great.
Upper Midwest.
Yeah, well, we'll count those folks. Yeah, that's great.
But primarily Minnesota. We want to show off what's good about Minnesota.
Well, can you, Margaret, outline for us what the art market is? I mean, what was the idea behind it, and then maybe tell us what people get to see there.
Well, in past conventions, they've done a silent auction, a small scale, and so we felt that there's a market there to sell local art. People traveling all over the country. These are people educated about art, and they're looking for something to bring back home.
They want a souvenir
local. That's
of
right,
their
and they
event.
appreciate things handmade, so they'll know what they're seeing as high quality.
And this is kind of a first for Americans for the Arts, isn't it?
It is.
They haven't done this kind of thing
So
before.
it's Compass and the Craft Council is taking this on. It's a concept of a retail store at the convention, so people can come and buy.
Right, and that includes not only the convention goers who probably have a shot at getting in there just any time the convention's open, I suppose, but the public can come in as well?
There'll be a public Sunday afternoon of the convention weekend is open to the public, and we're also hoping for Monday afternoon. We should know that pretty soon.
Okay, and that's the Hyatt down on the Nicollet Mall, downtown Minneapolis.
Hyatt Regency.
And it's down in that exhibition hall on the first.
That's right. There'll be
level
other
there.
things there, but the art market will be a prominent part.
Well, and Dave, you've played a major role in this because I assume your position with the Minnesota Crafts Council. First of all, tell us about the Crafts Council, just in a few words. What is that organization?
Well, the Crafts Council is a service organization to artists who work in the media of fine crafts, and that includes wood, clay, glass, metal, jewelry, and fibers and stuff. So kind of a cross-section, but artists that are really out there working independently.
And it's a statewide organization.
Yeah, 80% of our membership comes from Minnesota area, but we also have members across the country.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, because they come in for our shows, and that's part of the criteria.
When you folks put on that incredible event every year, do you not, over at the College of St. Catherine's?
Yeah, the Minnesota Craft Festival.
Right, which from the people I talk with claim it's one of the 5 best craft shows in the country, so congratulations.
Yeah, it is. It's been a top award winner consistently.
Well,
so.
that's great. Well, if you would be so kind, Dave, to kind of lead us on a tour of some of these wonderful pieces that you brought. They look great.
Okay, yeah, these actually, this particular piece is out of collection of Jeff's, and then this is also out of collection of mine. Bob and Cheryl Husby are the artists that do these pieces, and I think what's great about them is the amount of detail that they get into their pieces, and they're all salt-fired, and they're all handmade, so by the 2 artists.
Great. And where are those artists from, or that artist from?
These, Bob and Cheryl Husby are from Duluth, and actually we've got a strong north representation today. This is a piece by Butch Holden, and he teaches at Bemidji State. And I've known Butch for a long time, but he has some really unusual glazes and stuff, and really been working on.
I hope the camera's picking that up because it's a wonderful, rich set of colors in there, particularly the greens.
Yeah,
it's very nice.
A lot of fun. Butch likes to have fun with his work. So, and then behind this we have a glass piece. It's fused glass. It's by Mike Tonder. He recently moved from Red Wing up to 2 Harbors and stuff, so now he has a little bit more of the lake experience for him. But he's been doing these things. And then also we have Joe Becker, who's probably a new emerging glass artist. Joe I think when I was talking to him about this particular piece, he put about 20 hours into this piece. And it's a blown glass and then cut faceted and stuff. And then
it's wonderful.
Sandblasted. So, and then Margaret's holding actually one of my pieces, which is a little bit embarrassing, but...
well, I'll say it. It's a lovely piece. This is great.
But I've been working in clay for about 20 years, so it has a celadon clays, and these are chrysanthemum bowls, and they're based off Sung Dynasty pieces.
Oh, really? Well, that's very interesting. So not just an administrator, but hands-on with the craft himself?
Absolutely.
Good for you. That's great. Now we have this piece as well.
Yeah, and that is an early Richard Grucella, and if anybody knows Richard's work now, he's working primarily in Raku. Richard's also up in the Duluth area, but that piece is about 20 years old, and it's something I've had for quite a while.
This is out of your collection again?
Yeah.
I want to thank you all for kind of taking these out of home and probably stealing things from right under your children's mouths while they're eating breakfast. And last but certainly not least is this wonderful thing Margaret's wearing here.
Which isn't from my closet yet.
Yes. You've got plans, huh?
Yeah. We'll see how the
Here, why
day
don't I hold
goes.
this so people can maybe get the full view
This
of that.
is a jacket by Anna Carlson, and she's been a Craft Council member for quite a while, and also another award winner consistently in our shows and stuff, and she does excellent work and is another nationally recognized artist.
So all of these, go ahead.
Hand-dyed linen.
Wow.
And pieced and applique.
And again, I hope the camera can get this, but the detail and the texture here is just wonderful.
Yes.
And I must say, it fits you
It
very
looks
well.
great on me, doesn't
very
it?
well. I think so, yeah.
Call
I
my
really
husband
think
tonight,
it's something
will
you
you?
should own that.
I think so.
That's right. And so these are all examples, and I guess in a couple of cases, actual pieces that might be for sale at the art market.
Pretty well. This jacket could very
Definitely.
well be there, and
And award components here, did you mention?
Well, right now, the part of the difficulty of my job is that these 2 pieces are under consideration for an upcoming Lifetime Achievement Award that the Craft Council will be giving to Warren McKenzie.
I see.
So, in recognition of all of his work in the development of crafts.
Right, it's certainly a major figure locally here for the development of
and
of
he'll
that.
have a few pieces at the art.
Oh, so he will be represented as
Very
well.
fortunate to get
Actually,
some
we'll
of those.
have 75 artists overall represented.
Great.
So we'll
And
have
it's a
really
juried
good
show, I think you said?
Yes.
Yep, juried. And as Dave said, 75 artists, and we'll just be rotating the work. You know, there's a lot of one-of-a-kind pieces, and so through the weekend there'll be new things being put out.
Okay, and the point I think is that this is really a retail experience. This is not
That's
a
right.
craft show so much that you're going to find the artist standing next to them and
No, this is a little bit more so that people can come in and browse and
Right.
and feel real comfortable. And but it is a good retail experience.
And the artists won't be there. That's what that makes it different too.
So there'll be
We'll
retail
have,
people there.
Retail people,
Yeah.
salespeople.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the proceeds from the show obviously go back to the artist and then go to supply the expenses that we'll incur putting on the show.
Putting on the show. Which leads me back to the notion of the convention itself. Jeff, I wanted to ask you, and this may seem an obvious question, but what is the value? Why is it important that the Twin Cities will be hosting the Americans for the Arts? I mean, what's in it for us, I guess, locally?
What's in it for us locally, I think, is that there are a lot of local arts agencies. There are a lot of people engaged in community development through the arts all over the state who are working on limited budgets and won't have any other chance to go to a national convention like this. Last year, the convention was in St. Louis. The year before that was in San Jose. I mean, that would be a difficult thing for a lot of people to squeeze out of their budgets. So they will be able to partake of this national convention, and there's a very strong arts community all over Minnesota, and I think we will have probably about, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that we're going to have probably about a third of the attendees be from Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Oh, that's pretty impressive. Yeah.
We're going to have several hundred people, I think. So that it's a big access opportunity.
Right.
One other thing about the art market. Can I
Yes, sir.
put a little suffix on this? This is a first for the convention. There's never been anything like this, and we're hoping that this will catch on so well that it'll be instituted at all of the future conventions of Americans for the
Bit
Arts.
of a prototype then for, I think, an earned income
Right.
opportunity here.
That, and to just show off, as it travels across the country, show off the work from each region.
Well, and obviously some 75 craftspeople from this area will be part of the art market. Jeff, as I understand it, there will be a few events that we will also have some local people involved at some of the events that go on around the convention.
Yeah, as a local host, we're responsible for some non-convention or non-talking head events.
Right.
One is an opening reception at the Hennepin Center for the Arts. The next night is a chamber music concert and a reception at the Guthrie Theater. And then we bring everybody over to St. Paul for a look at some of the artist live workspaces and the Culture Garden in St. Paul over the now
Oh, the
swollen
subsiding river? Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And with a closing party at the Landmark Center.
Which was a beautiful space to have that kind of an event. Now, I feel like we might want to emphasize this is, after all, a convention, a membership convention. So that's really who's coming to town to do this. Besides the opportunity to get into the art market for some hours, anyhow, are there things that the public can do to get involved in this?
Not really.
Not really. Okay.
Really, though they could walk up and register that day.
So
but
they could get
that's-
involved joining Americans for the Arts if they chose to do it and
That's right.
get involved in that level.
And I think they'll have access to do those types of things, Phil, at the art market, because we're going to be in part of the exhibit hall where the resource center and some of the Americans for the Arts conference materials will be there. So.
Okay, well, we've got just a couple moments left, and as long as I've got you folks here, and you're very involved both in the programming of this event, but also I know all three of you are very interested in the future of the arts and crafts and that. The reason the Americans for the Arts exist, really, is to promote and advocate the health of the arts here in the United States. In a word, what are your feelings? Are we optimistic here with the changes that are going on in Washington? I want to kind of keep it on a national level to start with. Impressions? Jeff, you're smiling.
Well, I think there's a great deal of bipartisanship, bipartisan support for the arts on the federal level now, more than there was a couple of years ago, in 2 Congresses ago. That's very encouraging. I think also that the community art movement, if you will, I don't like calling it a movement, but for the sake of discussion, is growing, and I think that's going to benefit all of the arts in the long run. That more and more people are seeing that art is an integral part of daily life in communities all around the country. I think things are looking better than they are, a couple of years ago, and we need to keep at it. And things like this, the Americans for the Arts organization is working very hard to increase everybody's awareness of the importance of the arts around the country.
Okay, thanks. I want to thank you all for being on the show, telling us
Thanks,
about the
Phil.
art market. Is there a number they can call?
They can call my desk in St. Paul.
Okay, and that number is?
292-3260. If I'm not there, leave a message.
Okay, for more information specifically about the art market.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They
Sounds
can
good.
also call the Minnesota Crafts Council, and that number is 333-7789.
Okay, I want to thank you all for being on the show.
Thank
Thank
It's
you.
great. Look forward to the convention in early
Right?
June.
Yep.
Bring your shopping cards.
Yeah, that's right. And checkbooks, I think.
Checkbooks
Yeah.
and credit
That's
cards,
right.
you bet.
Yeah.
Now remember, you can win one of those 2 sets of all-day passes to the Minnesota Black Music Expo and Awards on June 7th simply by being the 11th or the 13th caller to the City Cable 34 hotline. That's 673-2234. Now remember, you have to leave your name, address, and a phone number on the answering machine, otherwise we can't get to you. Those passes could be yours. Now stay tuned. My next guests, Howard Kristoffersen and Lisa Elias, will fill us in on all the fun planned for the 2nd annual Art-A-Whirl in Northeast Minneapolis right after this art fact. $800 clubs book blues. There's a lot of blues going on, a lot of people like that. I'm excited to have my next guest on because last year was the first Art-A-Whirl event up in Northeast Minneapolis, and that was good. But what's even better is they're doing it again. I want to invite you to welcome Lisa Elias, artist, and you're involved in it.
Yes, I am.
Nice to have you here. Howard Kristoffersen.
Oh.
Nice to have you here as well. Art-A-Whirl, I went last year. It was a great success. Many artists up there, a number of buildings. Let's just get down to some real basics right away. What are the dates this month in May?
Art-A-Whirl starts Friday night, the 16th of May, from 5 until 9. Saturday, the 17th, from 12 until 8. And Sunday, the 18th, from 12 until 6.
So it's just a jam-packed weekend, yep. And it's multiple venues. Is that right?
Yeah, it's going to be many different studio buildings, large buildings, and then a lot of smaller ones as well. Houses that artists work into.
Right, now when you say large, because I know some of them are like warehouses, like the California building with like 70 artists. Smaller ones, I mean just like a few artists have studios or something?
Yeah, yeah. And it's you can contact the hotline number and receive a map or pick up a map about all the locations.
Oh, okay, so that could be sent out even in advance. I mean,
well, it may be, or else you can probably pick one up at any one of the larger locations. And
I got the number.
Yeah. Okay, you want to rattle that off?
Sure, it's 257-7396 is our hotline number.
Okay, it's for Art-A-Whirl, so call that, dial that number, and you can find out all kinds of stuff, like where, when. Would it even get down to the detail of like who's where? I mean, would they know that at a hotline
No,
number?
it will basically tell you where to pick up a map so you can find out the events specifically.
Yeah. Okay, that was a cool map.
Yeah, it's all spread all over Northeast.
Okay.
So lots of different locations, lots of great places to discover.
Great, and you're both involved with Northeast. You have
yes.
your studio's up there.
Yep, I have the Icebox Gallery. It's art gallery and frame shop that's been on Central Avenue since 1988. 9
Congratulations.
years.
That's
Thank
up on Central, about 24th.
24th and Central.
Been up there myself. And I take it that's where you also work.
Yes.
Yourself. That's where you're at.
That's where the art comes from too.
Okay, that's good. That's the fount of art.
Doesn't have to go very far.
That's right. And Lisa, you not only work in Northeast, but you're a resident.
I am, yep. I've lived there for only a year and a half, but my business has been there for about 6 years.
Well, now tell me about your business. What is Lisa Elias's business?
I do functional metalwork, and I make anything from, smaller, toilet paper holders to big railings and gates and.
So quite literally functional. You were nice enough to bring a
functional.
piece right here at your knee. Let's take a look at that and tell us what this is if those people out in TV land don't know.
Sure, it's a fireplace tool set that was a commission, and that's basically how I work a lot is through galleries where I get commissions, and I do that.
They called up and they said, this is something you want. Now, is this a one of a kind?
They're all pretty similar. I mean, of course, everything is not the same.
But there isn't a line of this necessarily.
No, never. Everything
this
is
a Lisa Elias
different.
original
Oh,
or
yeah.
something. That's and you're in collections and been exhibited in, you were mentioning before we sat down, in a few prestigious places.
Well, yeah, I have a couple of galleries in town that rep me in a showroom in International Market Square.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crema Gallery, you said?
Yeah, well,
Southside?
Crema Cafe I've done quite a bit of work for, like
I think
the
of it as
big
a
gates.
gallery.
Oh, well, yeah.
That's great. That's great. And now, where do you work? I mean, what part of Northeast are you in?
I'm basically right where Central and Broadway meet. It's a real small little building on the railroad tracks.
Oh, okay.
Very industrial.
Sure. Well, thanks for bringing that. I hope
Sure.
people got a chance to look at that. I know if my mom's watching, she's going to say, I could use that. So
She
thank
can
you.
have one.
Is that right? for a nominal fee. You call
Yeah.
Lisa Elias. That's great.
Neiman Marcus, I'm going to have some pieces at Neiman Marcus where there will be a fireplace tool set there.
Literally, oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that they're making use of local artists to bring that sort of thing
Yeah, it's
in.
pretty great.
Bless their hearts, that's great. And Howard, first of all, thank you for dressing brightly in this climate. We need more
Spring
color.
is finally here.
That's great. You also brought a wonderful and dynamic, literally dynamic piece here. Do you want to just describe what this is that you brought?
Well, my art exhibit that I put together this time combines the two parts of me, where I've been as a picture framer practically forever and an artist forever. This show I put the two together. So I've, rather than make pieces and then bring them in and have them framed, I often turned that around for this exhibit, where I made frames and then made the pieces to fit the frames. So this is one strange piece called the American Dream Machine, and this piece just happened because I made the two sides and built the box around them and started taking the ideas from there and created this kaleidoscope, a piece to create sort of a dream effect when you peek into it. And you can look at it from two sides, so two people can operate this piece at the same time.
May I join you here?
Yeah.
I'll go with the middle one
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
This is fun.
You feel like you're dreaming
Art
yet?
in action here, folks.
Yeah,
I often do, Howard. It's one of the shortcomings of my life. That's wonderful. Thank you. So this is a month old or so by the time
This
we're
is
watching this.
yeah, it's a real new piece. It just kind of came up. I've made about 20 new pieces since January 1st, and the whole show is of real new pieces, real different work for me.
Well,
I've
that's
worked
wonderful.
often in photography, and this one has a little bit of photography, but the majority of it is constructions coming from the frame idea.
And so yet another example of what people, if they want to go to Art-A-Whirl, they see some of your works here and many, many other people. Before I forget, I wanted to mention and thank Perry Ingley, who helped with Art-A-Whirl again. His piece was selected for this year's poster, and I think we're going to be able to cut to that, the actual tornado, which I didn't know until he brought it in to the studio, that's not just something he did for Art-A-Whirl, but he has a whole tornado series, which I think is interesting.
Yes.
So here's a glimpse of...
some of Perry's pieces you can see at the Science Museum in St. Paul.
Oh,
in their
all right.
Tornado exhibit.
Yeah, I've been up to a studio, in fact, at Art-A-Whirl last year and seen some neat pieces. So there are variety buildings up in Northeast, and I'll bet a lot of folks don't even know that there are literally dozens. I mean, the California building, there's the S&M building.
Yes.
What kinds of... Tyler Street, what kind of things do people see? I mean, it's not only the work that you two do, but...
Well, everything. Paintings, sculptures,
Printmakers,
photographers.
kite makers.
Okay,
Yeah,
really?
kite makers.
Okay, I think I even saw glass blowing last
Yeah,
year.
yeah, glass blowing.
Great. Well, yeah, I think you both brought some slides. Lisa, why don't you start out and just kind of walk us through a few more images. These are just representative of other artists that are involved.
Here's a slide, a sculpture done by David Gravy. It's cast aluminum, and its name is Valerie.
Okay, thanks.
And then here we have another wood carving done by Steve Tomaszek, and it's called The Hunter. And this is something done by Joel Adas, and it's acrylic on linen, and it's called Dog Dreams.
Very interesting. Thanks. And those will be at various sites.
Yep,
They won't necessarily all be at the same
Right,
location.
Great.
And Howard, you also got a few slides here.
Yeah, I do. This first one is of the California Street building. It's one of the largest, I think one of the larger art buildings up in Northeast, and it's a large warehouse just full of artists that all have their doors open for the Art-A-Whirl.
And as I recall, they have a nice little cafe down there.
Yeah, the
outside
Mill
of-
City Coffee House.
Yeah.
And there's also, inside the Mill City Coffee House during the event, they'll have artwork by the Sheridan High School students. And
Okay.
there'll be a student exhibit. It'll be very
Well, that's a
interesting
nice
to see.
link to the young people up there in Northeast. That's
Yeah, we've tried to involve the community in as many ways as possible in the Art-A-Whirl.
great. What other images did you bring here, Howard?
Let's see, then I've got this one by Foster Willie, and it's plaster on wood, and it's a construction. This is a detail of the piece. So it's a wonderful piece with these faces and things. It has sort of this ornate, goes back in time in some ways. It's very nice. The other one is by Wilbur Schillings, and this is the front side of a book, and it's slipcase. It's a 4-color offset printed book, and it's wonderful.
Great. In other words, it shows more of the variety as well of the kinds of
Yes.
things that go on there.
Yeah.
Folks, we've got just about a minute left, and you alluded to something, Howard, about the outreach into the community with the Sheridan. A couple of new features this year in Art-A-Whirl. Can you just share with us some of that outreach and things that you're doing?
Well, we got the exhibit with the students, and what's the other?
Something about education.
Yeah, at the
Perry was
Swanson
talking
School, there's going to be a lot of different artists who are going to be teaching students like anywhere from ages, 4 until teenagers, and it's going to be going on, I believe, in noon until maybe 4 o'clock.
Okay, over that same weekend then?
Yes, it's on the 17th.
So bring your kids in, and there'll be activities to keep them involved and get them involved in
Right.
art.
Wow, so that's a very nice way to knit the community into this
Right.
event. Well,
Also, on that
congratulations.
Saturday night, we're having a performance. It's called The Gig, and it's going to be at No Name Exhibition, or Soap Factory, actually.
That's the name of their venue,
right,
actually.
it's
yeah.
Soap Factory, and it's curated by No Name.
Okay, and that's right down on the riverfront,
Right,
actually.
Yeah.
but we're going to have it starting at 8 p.m. and then going until the wee hours of the morning, and it's going to be performers, musicians.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And that's the Saturday night, did you say?
yep,
Okay, good, I got that right.
Saturday to the 17th.
Okay, thanks. Well, I want to thank you both for being on the show.
Thank you, Phil.
Another successful year with Art-A-Whirl. That's great. Well, coming up next, Roy McBride and Jeannie Piekos will bring us the scoop on the Powderhorn Writers Festival. It'll be right after this. Stay tuned. Well, a few wise words from an impressionist. A few weeks back, I got a phone call from a woman that I've known, and it was an interesting call because what I was unaware of was the nature of an event that's coming up in South Minneapolis around the Powderhorn Park neighborhood. And as I learned about it, I was excited, first of all, about the event, which my next guests are going to talk about. And then when she started mentioning the folks that could come on and talk about it, I got even more excited. I'm very pleased to introduce to you folks Roy McBride, writer, author. Thank you, Roy. It's nice to have you. And Jeannie Piekos.
Hi.
Nice to have you here, too. Thank you both for coming. The Powderhorn Writers Festival, did I get the name correct?
Yes, you did.
Let's start off with some basics here. What is this thing? What is this Writers Festival that takes place the whole month of May? Am I right?
That's correct. Well, it was the genius child of Roy McBride. He envisioned this for many a year, and I used to see Roy in the neighborhood, and he'd say, "We're going to do this Writers Festival," and I thought, that's great, that's great. So now it's finally happening, and it's the whole month of May, readings, workshops, a book fair, a readathon, writers contest, an anthology, and a banquet.
Oh, my word. That's
All in the month of
very
May.
impressive. And Roy, do I have this right? It's essentially, or it's exclusively, writers from the Powderhorn area?
Yeah, well, it's the Powderhorn neighborhood and the greater Powderhorn community. One thing we started out in the beginning is for people who live in Powderhorn, used to live in Powderhorn, and wish they live in Powderhorn,
Oh, okay.
which is an inclusive idea.
Oh,
and
fair enough.
creating the Powderhorn mystique.
Yeah, well, I think of Powderhorn, quite frankly, as a very creative area. I mean, not only in the literary sense, but there are performing artists and all kinds of festivals and fairs that go on there. So congratulations. I think it sounds like a great concept. Are there some other names you can rattle off besides the two of you? You're obviously involved.
Quite a few people have been involved. Warren Park, who is from the West Bank School of Music, but he's a writer. Also, Sue Ann Martin's son, and actually, the steering committee has had about 10 to 15 people involved. Amy Ballestad, but we're going to have a lot of community writers involved in doing workshops, and artist Paul Bosing is going to do a voice workshop. Louis Alamayu with Carrie Thomas is going to do a jazz and poetry workshop.
That sounds like fun.
We try to get everybody involved. We try to contact everybody we know to get involved, and then we tried to flyer the whole neighborhood so people that we didn't know and who didn't go in our circles would hear about it. And,
Well, as we were getting ready to tape the show, a couple people in the crew were saying, is this the first annual? I mean, is it your intention to start this year and keep going?
wasn't in the beginning, but it's starting to seem like it's a good idea, and there's possibilities of some parts of it continuing. what I thought about at first was, first I thought about doing a poetry festival because I'm more interested in poetry. But then the first writers I met were fiction writers, so it sort of expanded it. And then I thought about doing it on one weekend. And expand it
I
into
can see
a
where this is
month.
going, Roy.
And then I thought about a one-shot deal with the idea that next year might be the Phillips Writers Festival.
Okay.
And I would help whoever was organized it. I would give them all the materials we worked. And so who knows what's going to happen and evolve, but I think there are going to be people coming from the greater Powderhorn community, which is all over the city, and we got one entry for the anthology. We're publishing from Wisconsin.
Wow.
So
this has become an interstate festival all of a sudden.
Possibilities.
Well, that's great. What are some of the venues? I assume that this is going on in various locations in the Powderhorn area. What kinds of places will these be going on in?
Well, as far as the readings go, we have the Readathon, which is going from noon to midnight on the 24th, which is a Saturday, at the Mayday Cafe, which is the new coffee shop, relatively new coffee shop on Bloomington and 35th. Lovely little coffee shop, and that's going to go, like I said, 12-hour shot of constant reading, we hope, and we have a lot of people already signed up. So
so it's not just Roy for like 8 hours and then Jeannie comes in for the
absolutely
wraps
not.
it up. Okay.
No, the response to all of this has been just wonderful. I think we're going to have writers just all over the place.
That
It's
sounds
great.
fun. So Mayday is one venue.
Mayday Cafe is one, and then right across the street from the Mayday Cafe at 3449 is the Puppetry Arts Studio. We're going to have a reading there on the 22nd, which is a Thursday, and that's a full moon reading. We're going to have two featured writers, Mary Kay Rummel and Kate Dayton. They're working on a book currently, right now, that's all moon poetry. So they're going to be reading, and then an open reading will follow. So people from the community can bring their moon poems and read in this Puppetry Art Studio, which is just going to be a beautiful venue. They're going to have it set up with that moon theme.
Sounds like a nice experience all the way around.
Yes.
That's great.
Some of the other venues is the book fair is going to be at the Pillsbury House, which is
over on Chicago.
35th in Chicago, and the workshops are going to be in the Powderhorn Community School. So we are trying to spread it all out. There'll be workshops at the Phillips Powderhorn Wellness Center, which is Lake in Bloomington.
Okay. Well, great. You mentioned reading, and one thing I want to make sure happens, you were both kind enough to offer to do a little reading right here on the show, and I thought we could get right to that now. Roy, you had a poem, I think?
Yeah, I've been, Sunday was like the first day of spring because everybody was out, and so I thought about this piece, and this, I used to live in Elliott Park, and I wrote it one day. I was hating what was going on in Elliott Park, and one day I saw this parking ramp that was built on Chicago and 9th, and it was beautiful. So I wrote this poem. It's spring, it's delight. Spring nights, sweet delights, in the village, urban village, habitat, habitation, habitants, walking on the sidewalks. A bit of ground and grass reminds us of where we came from. Not so long ago, a glow. It's the light. It's the light. It's the light. It's spring. It's the light. Spring nights, sweet delights, in the village, urban village, habitat, habitation, habitants, walking on the sidewalk, husbandry of street corners, vacant lots. Man, all I need is 37 cents, honest. Man, I ain't had nothing to eat in a week, honest. It's the light. It's the light. It's the light. Standing on the corner, watching the traffic, 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 traffic. And out of that poem, a poet sent me this poem last year by Emily Dickinson that's called Spring Light, and it's a great poem. I wish I had it, but that...
Well, Roy, thank you very much. I followed you right down that street there as the traffic just went down the neighborhood. Thanks a lot. That was great. And Jeannie, you as well have original by yourself here.
I do.
What have you decided on?
Well, I decided to read my Fear of Flying poem.
Okay.
Because it's still real. It's called For Martha and Me. Everyone is here. There's the man in the Bourbon Street baseball cap, bright red nose, his beacon home. There's the woman in the aqua blue crepe, whooshing past the more common polyester types. There are children crying, tugging at their own hands, held like a leash by their parents. And I am here, nervously waiting, obsessively thinking of hospitals and airports and hospitals, vending machines and rows of telephone booths, always in use. Too many people in one place. Too many people trusting in a pilot's ability to react correctly, or the engineer's ability to foresee the unforeseeable, or the maintenance crew's ability to just say no. I will not include myself in this trusting lot. I do not want to die with these people. I don't want my body tossed and thrown against their bodies as the plane spirals out of control. I do not want to be among the unidentified, so that my family has to come and sort through remains of me and remains of them, perhaps mistaking a sleeve or a sock of theirs for something I once wore, bringing it home, clutching it to their hearts, wondering if it was the last thing to touch me alive, not realizing it was owned by a Catholic woman named Martha, who believed abortion was a sin, who never spared the rod, who never laughed after midnight.
Well, thank you, Jeannie.
You're welcome.
That's wonderful. What was that in? I noticed that is out of a publication.
It's FEMA, and it was all
Wasn't all about airplanes, was it?
Actually, unrecognized at the airport.
Oh, my word. Not to make light of what you wrote, but I have some of the same emotions on Saturday morning shopping at Rainbow. It's just all those bodies. It's kind of intense. Thank you very much. Very evocative. I appreciated that.
Thank you.
That's great. And you mentioned, Roy, it's not only poets, but also fiction writers.
We ended up with a writing contest, and we had 7, 8 categories.
Oh, okay.
And we're gonna so it's all kinds of writers, and we're encouraging writers that have just heard about it now from seeing this to come and get involved.
A perfect segue, sir. There's a phone number people can call if they want to find out more about it. And Jeannie, what is that number?
It's the PPNA building, and it's 722-4817.
Okay, why don't you repeat that one more time?
722-4817.
Thanks, and that's the Powderhorn Park Neighborhood Association offices or whatever?
Correct. Yes, they are sponsoring the whole thing.
Great. When I talked with Marcel, we just have one quick moment left. She said that not only was this to celebrate the writers, but it had something to do with knitting the community together. Is there an element of that in why you're doing this?
Yeah, it's partly organizing, but it's sort of like we thought when I first was thinking about this, I was thinking about having a Minneapolis Writers Festival, but I realized there's hundreds of writers in Powderhorn, and there's thousands of writers in Minneapolis.
Wow.
And just to organize that would be quite a chore. So I thought, this is my neighborhood, and I know some people that I can, like Jeannie, who I can recruit to help do this. And so why not go for it? And it's a model for anyone that would like to follow it. We will help you. And I think it might be something that's going to keep going in some way. I hope it will.
Well, I wish you best of luck, and I plan on being at least at some of those events. Jeannie, thank you. Nice to have you on the show. And Roy, a pleasure to see you again.
Yeah.
Thanks for the reading, both of you. Now, Janet will be back to help me wrap up this edition of Artifacts right after this. It's going to be fun. Stay tuned. Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition of Artifacts.
Indeed, it was another great show. Always have such interesting guests, good stuff going on.
Pete Rhodes, great guy.
Oh,
always
just
nice
love
to have him
He's
on
a
the
good
show.
guy. Yep.
And I was kind of impressed by what's going on out in the neighborhoods there. Art-A-Whirl, of course, year 2.
Right.
The entire quadrant of the city, art stuff going on up there. Quite a neat thing to do. And then Powderhorn organizing themselves in a greater Powderhorn effort to get the writers involved in the community and give the community a chance to hear them.
It's really nice to have the grassroots stuff happening in the neighborhoods. And
that's right. Minneapolis, very viable, vital city for the arts.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
upcoming things?
Yes, I wanted to mention the 8th annual Hollywood Pitch Day. Always a great event. The Independent Feature Project North does this, has been doing it, obviously, for the last 7 years. This is the 8th time around. And during this particular event, people will be pitching their screenplays to Hollywood production executives and agents. It's really fun, and you don't have to pitch to watch. So it's something that if you're interested in, obviously a lot of the people who are already getting involved in this have already.
You mean I could go and watch them pitch?
You can go and watch them pitch.
Hey, that kind of beats going to the Twins. No,
yeah.
Just a joke there, Tom.
They do have better pitchers.
I think so.
This is taking place on Saturday, May 31st from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Minneapolis College of Art and Design.
Great, that's good
It's a good event.
for the field. Also, a guest we had on a few months ago, Derek Black. He's an artist in resident down at the Minnesota Center for Book Arts in downtown Minneapolis. He literally called and said, "Hey, I'm doing a show. Opens May 18th out at the Thomas Charles Salon in Minnetonka. So if you enjoyed what you saw of his on Artifacts, you might want to go out there and check out some of his recent work."
Yep, you're going to want to be watching for all the Juneteenth activities that will be starting in June.
Yep, a whole bunch of things.
Good
and
Film
this
Festival.
fabulous giveaway thanks to Mr. Pete Rhodes again.
Yes,
That's
you get
cool
to go
stuff.
to the Black Music Awards and Expo on June 7th if you're the 11th and 13th caller to the City City Cable 34. I was talking so fast. The City Cable 34 hotline.
673-2234. And the tickets that he's allowing people to call up for makes it a family event.
That's right.
You can take the family. So I think that's
gang.
good. Well, grab your pencils. We have an events calendar coming up. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next month on Artifacts. I'm Phill Lindsay.
I'm Janet Zahn. Thanks for watching.
The 16th Annual Minnesota Black Music Awards and Expo, June 6th and 7th at the Fine Line at the Minneapolis Convention Center. Jan and Lewis, The Time, Prince, Alexander O'Neal, the Sounds of Blackness have all been a part of this program. Wait till you see what's on tap for 1997. So stay tuned to WRNB, the host station for the 1997 Minnesota Black Music Awards and Expo, June 6th at 7.